Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. And once again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show every Saturday, 1:30 Central Standard Time. Yes, every Saturday, 1:30 Central Standard Time. And I got to give a huge thank you to each and every one of you. I know you guys have been listening. You've been sharing this show with your friends and your family and maybe even your frenemies as well. So thank you so very much. As of, 2 days ago, 60,000, yes, 60,000 listeners to the 800 Credit Score Man Show, and that's only on Spreaker, who hosts this program. That's Spreaker.com, Spreaker, Spreaker.com, and iTunes. So those are just those numbers. And as you know, the show is now on Spotify, it's on iTunes, it's on Castbox and Podbeam and Google Play, and it has its own app. All of those things is available, and I don't have the numbers for all of them, but what I do know is that 60,000 people have listened to the show on Spreaker and on iTunes alone. So thank you so very much. Share the show. Continue to share the show. Like, share, and follow. Those three things I need you to do if you like the show, and you can comment on the show as well. Positive comments. No, I'm just kidding. If you've got a comment, you got something you want to tell me, please comment on the show wherever you listen to it, or send me an email, 800@creditscoreman.com. That's 800@creditscoreman.com. You can do that. So again, thank you guys for coming in and listening to the show. So what are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to deal with a couple of things, because I think that the question of the day is very informative as well. So we're going to talk about balance transfers. How does that help or hurt or impact your credit scores if you do a balance transfer with your credit cards to try to get rid of some of this debt? As you know, debt utilization is the second largest factor when it comes to seeing what your credit score is going to be, how well it's going to do. It depends on how much money you owe people, and primarily on your credit card. So it's important that you know how to get yourself out of debt, and lowering your debt can raise your credit score, which is going to lower interest rates for you in the future when you want to go buy something else. So we're going to discuss that today. We're going to talk about how it works and all of those things, even payment process on that. How does it work when you actually make the payment for your debt transfer and for your balance transfer? And is it even worth it? Like, is it worth it to actually do this for you? In most instances, I'm going to say that it probably is. Some instances, of course, it's not worth it, depending on how much they charge you. And yes, they charge you to do this. Just to click a few buttons and send off a payment to somebody else, they're going to charge you for that. So we're going to get into that today, and then we have a great question of the day as well. So we're going to get into all those things today on the 800 Credit Score Man Show. And so I got to give a shout out. You know how I do. So I got to give a shout out. Let me get this first shout out. I want to say happy birthday to Shakina Bullock. Shakina celebrated her birthday yesterday. We're talking about a woman that's an entrepreneur, who works very hard, has her own thing going for herself, an inventor. So happy birthday to you, Shakina Bullock. She's definitely living her best life out there. And I got to give a shout out to Latrice Edwards as well. She celebrated her birthday. So happy birthday to you, Latrice Edwards. And let me give these wedding anniversary shout outs. John Henry and Toya King celebrated 6 years. Yes, 6 years. They're celebrating it on Monday, actually. They're going to be celebrating 6 years of wedded bliss. So happy anniversary to you guys. And I got to give a shout out to Brad and Kara Townsend as well. They celebrated 19 years in the game. Yes, 19 years in the game. So happy anniversary to you guys as well. So let's jump into what's going on with these credit balance transfers and whatnot. So how does it actually impact your credit? Well, first of all, what is it? What is a balance transfer if you don't know? So what a balance transfer is basically you're moving money around. So you're not getting rid of debt, but you're saving money on interest when you make these balance transfers. So it works. It works like this. So it works. Well, first let me tell you this. So when I say balance transfers, I'm talking about you got a credit card. They send you that offer in the mail. Say, hey, you can get zero interest for 18 months if you transfer a balance from a different card. That's something too. You can't do a balance transfer within company. So you can't do a Capital One transfer to Capital One. You've got to be able to do one from Citibank to Capital One or vice versa or whatever it is. So you're going to make these transfers. So you're going to do that. You get that offer. You say, okay, I'm going to take this offer. I owe $5,000 to XYZ. I'm going to go ahead and take this offer and I'm going to do zero. I'm going to get zero interest for 18 months. So that's what a balance transfer is. You're just transferring the balance from one card to another card. That's what you're going to do. So when you do that, they differ. So you're going to have that zero interest for this 18 months. And so how does that work for you? Basically, that means you got free money for a little while. And free is relative because there's also and typically a transfer fee. So you've got this fee that you have to pay just to do this. So if you got $5,000, like I said, and you do it, and your fees are typically between 3% and 5%. I think I've been offered 2% before, but you've got 3% and 5%. So let's say you do you do one and it's a 5%. It's a 5% fee for doing it. $5,000, 5% of that is $250. So when you make this transfer right away, it's going to be $5,250. So then that's what you owe back that you want to pay back within the 18 months. So you don't pay any interest at all, not one dime of interest. So that is that money that's being freed up for you. That's money that's being freed up for you, and you'll be able to maybe do some additional things with that. So that's what a balance transfer is. And it works different. When you say zero interest, for so many months, you may be thinking about, hey, that furniture that you went and bought from XYZ furniture store, or if you bought a mattress somewhere and you were able to go ahead and get that kind of deal, they work differently when you pay them back. They work differently, totally different than those things. So let's talk a little bit right now about like the furniture thing. So if you do the furniture thing, you get 6 months to pay your money back. You bought $1,000 worth of furniture, $2,000 worth of furniture, and you get 6 months to pay it back without having any interest charge on it at all. So you're like, great, I can do that. What you need to do to make sure that you pay it all off in that 6 month time frame is take whatever your balance is and divide it by 6. In this particular example. So you divide it by 6, whatever that amount is, that's the amount that you want to pay on a monthly basis. Some of these places you don't have to make a payment at all. You don't have to make any payment at all if you don't want to, and then you'll have zero interest still for 6 months, and then it'll roll over. Other places you do have a minimum payment, but it won't be the division of divided by 6, so you don't get interest. They want you to pay the interest at the end of the day. That's what they want to do. So in those instances, when you go to that furniture store, the jewelry store, wherever you go, in those instances, you have the 6 months to pay it off with that zero interest rate. Now, here's how it works. At the end of the 6 months, let's say it was $3,000. Pay $3,000 worth of stuff. You got to pay it off in 6 months. That $3,000, if you pay it off in 6 months, no problem at all. So now you have, that's what you have. So you got the $3,000. You want to pay it off over the 6 months. If you don't pay it off over the 6 months, then your interest, yes, the interest that you had. So let's say you paid all but $300. You've paid all but $300. It's down to the last payment. It's due on the 25th of the month. And let's say you don't pay it. You don't pay it then. And if you don't pay it, then all of the interest from day one, so from the first day that you bought it 6 months ago, that $3,000, all of the interest that would have been calculated over the 6 months so far, you're going to pay all of that interest. You're not just going to pay the interest on the $300 balance that's left. You're going to pay the interest on the entire $3,000. So it's very important that, one, you know what that date is, And because it would be a shame, it would be an absolute shame if it was $300 left on it, and then you get your next bill and your bill is $1,800 because you got $1,500 worth of interest just because you missed that particular date and you only had $300 left on there. So you need to know that. You need to know that when it comes to those types of zero interest programs. Now, conversely, when you do this same thing and you use it as a balance transfer, when you use it as a balance transfer, they give you 18 months to pay it off. And we talked about $5,000 being that amount. They give you 18 months to pay off that $5,250 because you had that $250 charge to enact this transaction. When they do that, when you do it that way, let's say at the end of the 18 months, you have, you still have another $800 left. Got $800 left. You've been doing your best to try to get it all paid off in the 18 months. You got the $800 left. Well, now your that amount, that $800 will roll over to a rate, whatever that rate is that they determined up front, which will be typically above 15% or right around 15%. Maybe it goes back to your old rate that you had before, which could be 21, 22, 27, whatever that percent is. It'll go to that rate, and then you'll pay the interest only on what's left. So conversely, if you got the other one where you're doing it with the furniture store, you're going to pay the interest on all of it that's left. When you do a balance transfer, once that period is up, whether it's 12 months, 18 months, in our example is 18 months, when that 18 months is up, you will pay the interest you're only going to pay the interest on the amount that's left. So that's good for you. You save some money because you didn't pay interest for so long, and then you've got it down to a smaller amount, much smaller amount that you'll have to pay interest on until it's gone. And then there's no term with that. It's a credit card, so it's revolving, and you just keep paying and paying. You pay the minimum if you want to, or continue to throw money at it to make sure that it gets down for you. So that's how a balance transfer works. That's what it is. And so how then will that impact your credit score? We're always talking about credit here, right? It's the 800 Credit Score Man show. So how does this impact your credit score in itself when you do something like this? Well, like I said before, really, when you do this, you're just moving money. You're just moving money around. You're not getting rid of debt. We know that, because of that debt utilization, that is a big part of your credit score, and you're just moving debt around. You're not getting rid of any debt if you do this balance transfer. So what doesn't happen, let me tell you what doesn't happen when it comes to this. It doesn't change the past. So if you move it from, XYZ credit card to ABC credit card, it's not going to change the past history that you have with that card. So if you've had, late payments or whatever it is, some kind of issue with that particular credit card that's showing up in your credit report, just because you move that money from that card to another card does not mean that it's going to change anything in that history. Your payment history is the biggest factor when it comes to your credit score. It doesn't change anything. Negative items, even that late payment, is going to stay on your credit report for 10 years. For 7 years when it comes to that late payment. Now, if it's a positive account, you haven't had any issues, shows paid on time forever. You've had this card since 2012. You've had the card since 2000, and you've paid it on time all the time, and it's a positive history. Then what's going to happen is you're going to be able to keep that history for 10 years. So they give you a bump, really, if you will, just for having, a good payment history with that particular card or any account, really, that's on your credit report. It's going to stay positive. If it's positive, it'll stay on your credit report for 10 years, helping with your credit and your credit score. If it's negative, then it'll come off a little sooner. So that's helpful for us. It'll come off in 7 years. So those are some of the things that are going to happen and impact your credit score. On the positive side, though, when you make this balance transfer on the positive side, it saves you money on interest. So we talked about that earlier. It's going to save you money on interest when you make that balance transfer, which is going to give you more money in your pocket. When you typically, if you do one of these, you do a balance transfer and then it drops to zero, your minimum payment may be less than it was before. So if your minimum payment is less than it was before, that's saving you money, and it's saving you money on interest. It allows you the opportunity to throw some additional cash at your debt. So if you're saving money, you've been used to paying out $400 or $500 a month with all of your different credit cards, but now you've done this balance transfer and it's going to be a difference of say $125, then you're used to that amount, right? Take that $125 and apply it toward the debt, one way or another, whether it's the credit card debt